VLookup. We need to use this list that's in front of us right here, showing employee numbers, lots of names, lots of information about each of these employees. We need a subset of this information. I'm going to switch over here to what I call a small list, and I only have several employees, but I would like to find their first name and last name and the division they work in. I need that information, and I need to find it in this large list. Okay. So when we talk about a feature or a function like VLookup, what we're going to do is look up the employee number in this big list, and when we find it, we expect it to go over to the right of this column and return any information we need, like first name, last name, the division, etc. Okay? And we're going to do that by putting in a formula. So we start here where we have the small list. This is where we want the answers. Let me just size these columns a little bit. Okay, so let's get started. The function is found under formula, and I like to use this function wizard instead of keying in the formula. The function wizard is going to give you the syntax, and that just is very helpful in knowing where to put the parens and where to put the commas. So we're going to click on Insert Function. Now, I've used this function before, so it comes up in my list right here. But you can certainly use this, this wizard to find a certain category and locate the VLookup function. It always will list the function and tell you, have a short description of what that function does. So VLookup looks for a value in the leftmost column, etc. So I'm just going to click OK because that's the function I want. And then you are presented with a window that basically it's wanting you to fill in the information, and then it will produce a result for this function. So let's walk through it. What is the lookup value? What I want Excel to look up is right here. I want it to go to column A and look up this employee number. Then I step down to the table array. Table array is where do you expect me to be able to find this employee number? Well, that's going to be in the big list. So I'm going to switch over here to the big list. Sometimes you can grab this and get it out of your way, or you can roll it up like here. Roll up the window shade, I call it. But the list is this right here, and I'm going to select all of that. If you know about range names, you could create a range name for this. Okay, and so that's the list I want it to look in. Now, I need to lock it in A3 through K96, so I'm going to put my insertion key there and press F4 to put those dollar signs in. That way, when I copy this formula down, it will, I call it absolutely stay in A3 through K96. So what you've done is add an absolute value of that range. That's what the dollar signs do. They lock it in that range. All right, the next step is column index. If we go back, you are telling Excel, look up that employee number, look it up in this big list, and if you find it, go to the right X amount of columns. So if I put a 3 in here, it will go to the right 3 columns. Well, let's just leave it at 3 and see what happens. Now, range lookup, notice it is not bold. That means it's not required. It's not required. So I always wanted to find an exact match, So I'm going to put false in here. And you can read more about that later. So see, it's returned the word Frida. So column 3 must be the first name. If I change that to 4, I get Binga, and I know that's the last name. And if I change it to 5, I must be in the division column. 7, I'm in some, it looks to me like a date field of some sort. So I'm going to go with 3 because I wanted first name. And click OK. So there it has found that employee in the big list, gone over to the third column, and found exactly that employee number, AA03. Not AA04, but AA02. So now I should be able to copy that formula down and have it return all the first names. So let's walk through it one more time. It would be easy enough to just copy this formula over and paste it here, but let's just walk through it one more time. So we click on Insert Function. We do the VLookup. What is it you want to look up? The employee number. Where do you want to find it? In the big list. Select that data. Make it absolute by pressing F4 to add those dollar signs. When you find AA02, what column of information do you want to return? I'm going to guess it's 4. I can change it. And I want it to look up exactly that employee number, and it's returning Binga, which I know is a last name. Click OK. There we go. Now this time, I'm not going to walk through the whole wizard because I need another VLookup statement. So I'm just going to go to this column and copy it and paste it. All right, it's a little confused. Why? Because look at the formula. In this formula, it looked up A3. In this formula, it's looking up B3. Why did that happen? Because it updated relative to its position. When I copied it, it moved a column of information because I didn't have an absolute or the dollar sign set here. So I'm just going to tweak it a little bit and go up here and say, no, not B, A. So it finds Binga because it's looking up this in that big list, and it's returning column 4. Well, we need to change that. I think the division is in column 5. And, oops, column 5. There we go. And then copy that down. So a lot of these are in the Australian division, but regardless, we have our list. Now, if you want to value this information so that, because when I click on this cell, it shows the formula, and I would prefer this to be the word Frida. So what I need to do is get rid of those formulas. So I can select all the columns and cells with formulas in and do a quick copy, and then go right to paste, and it's called pasting values. And then I can press escape to get rid of that marching ants or the marquee around that information. And now you see that there are no longer formulas in here. That makes it very easy to copy, paste in an email, send somewhere else, etc. All right? So that's a very short lesson in using VLookup.